maskaxdii dunidu malaasan mawjadaheeda kala miirtay ee macnaysay maarkii qarsoona
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله صلى الله على سيدنا محمد معلميني حربنا إن كهذلنا سجود أن وهذا بوغا طبنات Englishka. We want to see and discuss elaborately the general overview of grade 10 English textbook, English textbook, student textbook. The book, as you can see, the book comprises of 16 units. 16 units. 16 units. The units are subdivided into sections. The following sections: A, which is listening and speaking. Then B, which is reading comprehension. Remember, the book is designed to help develop all the 4 primary skills for learning of English language. So the layout of the book, in general overview, this is what it is about. It has 16 units, and each unit has these sections. Sometimes one section like here, literature, might be missing, but the writing, listening and speaking, the reading comprehension, vocabulary, and writing segment are always there in each and every particular unit of this book, just the way they are in other books as in grade 9 and grade 11 and even grade 12. So, A, listening and speaking; B, reading comprehension; C, vocabulary section; D, grammar; E, literature could be a poem, a written literature, it could be an oral literature, it could be an oral verse, it could be journals of oral literature, like proverbs, riddles, tongue twisters, oral narratives, folklore stories that they will read and analyze and interpret. Then we have the last segment, which is now writing, best writing segment, which we call the write on. Now, teachers, I would like you to very much note this one, that this listening and speaking segment always in every unit, or most of the units, begins with a brainstorming segment where there are activities which students are supposed to undertake before they start the actual reading comprehension. Before the reading comprehension, they have to do a listening and speaking section, which is practically done by the student with the help and instruction of the English teacher. Then the listening and speaking will be most often be connected to what the students are going to read. They are going to read in their reading comprehension segment. So it's very important when you are doing the listening comprehension, the vocabulary there, the need for students to do the activities like discussion, because we have discussed the methodologies even in grade 9 for listening and speaking. When they are making conversation, you are observing how they are pronouncing words. Are they really understanding some of the vocabularies they are using, and so on. Now, as you can see, we have learning objectives. These learning objectives, These learning objectives are for the units. Remember, we have talked about the book. There is a general objective of the English course, for secondary English course, for primary English course, which we are already familiar with. These learning objectives are specific learning objectives. Specific learning objectives for specific units. Like, for example, read, listen to, and practice an interview. By the end of the lesson, the learner, the student, should be able to listen. Listen means not just sitting there and listening in actual means. It means he or she should be able to comprehend what they are hearing, or their partner or the teacher is reading. They should be able. It is the teacher to note and identify the ability of the student. And practice an interview. The student should again be able to practice the interview. He should practice. It should not be a one-man army where the teacher is the sage at the center. The teacher does everything in the old teaching ways. This modern way of teaching and learning process, which we called student-centered approach, puts the student right in the center. It's the student's interest first. If something has been learned, students have learned something in that lesson, then you can say, yes, we are going to the right direction. If not, there's no learning taking place. Answer comprehension questions. As you can see, after reading, after listening and comprehension, this objective will be for listening and comprehension, which we will going to see in the topics specific where each one fits in detail. Answer comprehension questions. They should be able to answer comprehension questions. Again, by the end of the lesson, the learner should be able to find the meaning and use vocabulary in sentences. Finding meaning could be in three perspectives. One, the student might be subjected to find the meaning of a word in a reading comprehension based on the way that word is used in the sentence in the reading comprehension section, or in the context. It's the meaning of the word according to the way it's used in the comprehension context. You know, when a student reads this word, there must be some words which he or she already knows. So by connecting these, transferring the knowledge learned in prior lessons, the student can, without checking the dictionary or asking his friend or even the teacher. Number two, the student might find meaning using the knowledge of synonym, antonym, where students ask himself if it contains a prefix an, then what if I remove this an? What will it mean? If, for example, a word was written there, honesty, she was an honest person, and maybe she or she is getting confused with the an. But because you have taught him or her about suffix and prefix, he can say now, an must be the opposite, and honest must be the opposite of honest. So this person is not honest. So when answering comprehension, when finding meaning and use vocabulary sentence. Again, when the students, sometimes they find the meaning, again in another perspective, which is group discussion. Discuss in groups of 3 and explain the meaning of the following, especially even in the listening and speaking section. We give them some genres of oral literature like proverbs or riddles, and then ask them to give the meaning. Or you can give them a short, in the book, you'll find a short poem, then they read and underline or list some words used in the poem, and then you tell them, find the meaning. And they can discuss in a group and come up with the meaning without you telling them. Let them hold the steering wheel. You just facilitate until when you find it's necessary to now give them the correct answers. Because the activities you're giving, these methodologies that you have used, you have told them what they are gaining, they are improving, they are developing listening and speaking ability, skills, reading comprehension, their reading skills, because listening skill, speaking skill, reading skill, and writing skill. These skills very important, which we are so much emphasizing on. Spell words correctly. Students should also be able to spell words correctly. If you see our students, especially in our Somali setup, most of the times what hinders their communication and learning is lack of correct spelling. Because the students want to write the words the way they hear. And as we know, some English words are not written exactly the way they are pronounced. They are not written the way they are pronounced. For example, if you see a student was hearing a text, you are reading, or he was reading a text which there were these words. The student was reading a text which these words were in. Yes. دوية صوت معنا يا صوتها هو لا صوتي يقول شيء هو مدي هو okay, teachers, before I was interrupted, I was saying the student was hearing a statement like that. It was raining and we could not see clearly through the wind screen. When you are driving and it's raining so much, because of the rain, we were not able to see clearly. We were seeing, but it was not clear. So the student, while reading this, you know, when you are reading, when the student was listening to an audio or a passage read by another student, now the student want to write rain, the way it is. You might see a student who will write, it was raining. And we could not see clearly. We could not see clearly through the wind screen. You see? Screen. Or sometimes screen. These little technicalities where a student will read the way he hears. Or for example, a teacher was dictating to a student. Then the teacher said, write, there are some words which are not spelled, are not written or spelled the way they are pronounced. Like these words, knob. You see? Right. Yes, knob, right. Sometimes these two words, the beginning, are called silent words or silent letters. They are not pronounced. So you are not only checking how the student has used sentences. These are the things we are looking at when we are generally talking about spelling. When we are talking about spelling. So teachers, we should be able to help students to make sure they get the right, correct pronunciation, spell words correctly. How do we achieve this? We achieve this through a lot of practice. They should practice, identify those words which are difficult for the student to spell. Identify as many, give them more exercises. So identify trouble words that are trouble making for the student. Difficult words to spell, difficult words to pronounce, because in listening and speaking,